Hey everyone, Eggman here with another video, and today we've got a top 32 breakdown for the regionals for the Gundam card game at the Dallas Bandai Card Fest that happened this past weekend. Also, I'm still on the road right now, so sorry the quality of this video is a little bit lower since I'm not at home right now, but I know you guys are wanting these deck lists. You guys want to see what topped this weekend, and I want to make this video just as soon as possible. So real quick, if you guys are new to the channel, please make sure to hit that like and subscribe. We make a lot of content for the Gundam card game, and I don't want you guys to miss it. Also, if you guys want deck lists for this event and many others, you can find them on my website, Eggman Events, which is linked in the description, and it's what we're using here. So for this event, for this weekend, this was 768 players, 9 rounds of Swiss Best of 1 into a top 32 Best of 3, and in that we did have a 32 of a 10 blue-green Zeon Aggro, 9 copies of green-white Wing Zero, 6 copies of blue-red Cyber-Newtype, 2 copies of blue-white, I'm calling it Federation Tempo, 2 copies of like Freedom Blockers. Like blue and white just have so much like diversity in how this is, so these are kind of like some personal names for me. But you also have blue-green Earth Federation Aggro, we have red-white Justice Blockers, and a blue-white Unicorn Blockers as well. So honestly, we've been seeing a lot of different results here in North America. This is probably the best that I've seen blue-green do, since this is also our first big event with this format too, and honestly our really only big one, since we do have technically the new Star Deck 5 come out in next couple weeks too, to change the metas for our October regionals. But it's really cool to see blue-green make a big jump into this top 32 compared to the other events that we've had as well. So I'm not sure if I'm going to get the full color breakdown data later. If I do, I'll make an update to the page and let you guys know about it. But I also think that blue-green has the advantage of having like just one of the cheapest decks to play right now in a meta where also just cards that are a little bit at a premium, right, compared to like green white Wing, where it has a lot of LRs from the set, right. We also have some cards from blue and red, like the Kshatriyas and the Banshees, right. The fact that the blue-green deck, in theory, is like the easiest to build just off some star decks and some additional cards does make a difference. And I really am curious to see how many people are on the deck this weekend. So hopefully we get that data sometime late in the week. But here's what we've got. We do have, again, all of the top 32 deck lists. So if you guys want to check them out at your own leisure, you feel free to do so. Again, this is on Eggman Events. But we're going to go over the top placing list for kind of every color combination archetype as it was. Again, a lot of these are kind of just like my own personal thoughts for what the names are, right? There's no leaders in this game compared to other Bandai card games to help distinguish it. But we're going to start off with our first place list, which is Joshua, or Joe's Hill. This is their TCG Plus name, but they go by Joshua as well. But they were able to get first place with this blue-green Zeon Aggro. So I also did do an interview with him yesterday as well, so highly recommend checking that out as well. I also do note that this was a deck that did win one of the pods in Japan earlier this month in their larger events too. So I do think that Joshua has been playing this deck for a while. I know him and his team have been playing it since Gen Con, and they were able to get one of the wins on one of the 4 days that we had this with a blue-green deck. So it's really funny looking back at it too, back at Gen Con, back at the the end of July, beginning of August. Blue-green wasn't really developed as a color yet, right? Like blue-white was clearly very good, and we do see like a lot of Wing, and like red and blue, I think Cyber-Newtype was just kind of hitting the scene as like a deck to do. But like it's so weird right now that blue-white used to be like so good, so present. A lot of people are saying, oh, it's the best deck in the format by a lot, but we've had such a change because of that. And so it's been cool to see blue-green get that rise in play. And I think Joshua has been playing it, for at least a month, right? Really grinding with it. And even though like it is like, a low to the ground aggro deck, right? Sometimes it's just you play the cards on the board and you get to win. Not every way, not every game is going to go that way and make it very easy. So make sure to watch his interview though, if you guys want more information. I think the cliff notes is that the Rick Dom really performed. It was a super strong card for especially like the mirror match and kind of being able to like even out the board while still doing pressure. Breach 2 is kind of sometimes unfortunate when you have an EX base with 3 HP, but if you're able to clear that afterwards, Dom is in a good spot. You also do have the Amuro with Gundam. If you get that early, fantastic. He was mentioning that he does like to go first, so that Corsica base on curve, super strong card in this meta because of that, and also later ones making 1/1s. And then also we are only having like 3 brick cards in the deck, meaning 2 copies of the Showa Resolve and then 1 copy of the Char's Galgug as well. These cards just help you like late game, right? But you never ever want to see them early. They're just ways to potentially get some wins later in the game as well. So here's the build here from Joshua. Congratulations for their win for this first, event for the Gundam regional season, and good luck on his, the national event later this year as well. So, and next up we've got second place. We've got Michael with a blue and red Cyber-Newtype, and I will say that I am biased for this deck just a little bit. It is one of my favorite decks to play in this meta right now. And shoutouts to Michael. Definitely highly recommend checking out both this game and the semifinals. Spoilers, he won the semifinals and lost the finals, but he has been clearly playing a lot of this deck. You can see a lot of his decisions have been, very automatic. He's been finding out the best ways to play, and it was really a treat to watch him play out through the top 4 as well. So this is honestly a build that I don't think is too unique in a lot of ways, right? This is pretty close to the build that I was running at Gen Con myself, right? The ideas like the gun cannons and Kshatriyas, hope you get a little bit of those like pilot pairs too. I think big difference is just, Visalis, or if you want to play the Corsica base, how many show resolves you want to do, but honestly, a pretty standard build for it. But I think what the big difference is, you have to really respect what you can do, and that this deck really does help you if you know what the meta looks like in a lot of ways. So really strong plays from Michael. Congratulations for their second place with the blue and red Cyber-Newtype. Next up, we've got our red and white Justice blockers, and this is trxz's version of the deck. And you guys might notice there is only one red-white deck in this entire top 32, and so being able to break out into the top 4 is fantastic. And what a deck list we've got here, right? It doesn't even fit on the screen for you guys. You got to go down. We do have a Witch and the Bride right here in the bottom here, but this is such a particular deck list, right? We're playing so many different cards. We're playing 19 different cards. We see a lot of one-ofs, a lot of swag ads, right? We're also playing 3 of the LR Aegis Gundam and then 2 copies of the MA mode. Generally, it's the other way around, so it's really interesting to see like that swap between them. And I think this is a deck that I've tried to work before. I think Justice Gundam is still like one of my favorite units in the game right now. It's just really difficult to get full value with it because Atherin forces you to kind of play red and white if you want to get that, link and pair shenanigans with it. But it's also just like a solid card. I think being able to make a 2/2 blocker in this meta has been just very good, and helps you just kind of have one card that generates another card. Generally speaking, when I was trying more of this red-white deck, blue-white was a little bit more popular. In late game, that deck just really gives more and more value, right? Not having access to Show or Resolve really does hurt you in this deck, but we have so many points of interaction, right? We've got like the Sword Strike Gundam. This card's been pretty popular as of late and really does help you get some removal and get some tempo back your way. Air Strike Gundam as well, fantastic card. I think this has been really, really strong in the last couple weeks as well. We do have like some single copies of some Soletta pilot or units here. We've got the Aerial from the Star deck, being able to get like the -3 on one enemy that's level 5 or lower, and then also the rebuild too, being able to get some back some of our commands as well. So we're playing the Close Combat, Overflowing Affection, Unforeseen Incident, Striker Pack, and the Witch and the Bride, which sincerely we do not see this card very often. There are a lot of Bandai card games where you're like, man, this is such a good effect, like this removal is unparalleled, but in this game we don't really see this really make much of a difference, right? The burst can really help you, though, in situations where it can kind of mess up your opponent's tempo. Honestly, like the removal for 2 is not too bad either. It just has to be something with 5 or less HP, which might be a little bit tough to do. But cool to see this card be played and get some, action. Getting a top 4 finish is fantastic with it. So again, this is a incredibly personalized deck list. This is a really, really cool build, and I really want to do some testing with it myself. I think that, red-white, there are some like minor consistency issues. And again, it kind of has this issue where it does run out of gas at the late game just because we don't really have as many value cards compared to like blue base decks as well. But when it's able to go off, it's super duper strong. And again, really happy to see this deck do well. So this is trxz's build. Congratulations for their top 4 with this red and white Justice blockers. So other than that, we've got our Wing. So this is Ryan's version of it. And despite Wing being like one of the more popular decks in the top cut here, since it was like 9 of the top 32, only 1 was able to get into the top 8, which I think is really indicative of how the deck's been doing lately. I do think the deck is really, really strong, and it is a little bit linear at the same time, but you also once it's so linear, right? The people, once they know how to figure it out, it's tough if you don't go second sometimes. Like if you can get aggro down very easily. It's a deck that you really can kind of start countering, I think, more than others because it is very linear and it doesn't do as much in the early turns. Sometimes it's like, oh, they have their good blockers, right? they're able to prevent me from going off. I just have no chance of winning. But other times you're just like, oh, well, at the same time, they didn't play their blockers, or they only played one. I've got 4 units on the board. I'm getting there. So this is a pretty like good conservative build where, or like a variety build. Sorry, I think is a better way for it. So I know like Airstrike Gundam has been popular as like a blocker for this, but we do have like this weird like Duo and Kira focus with only 2 copies of the Hero Yui. We're only playing 3 copies of the 6-drop wing. We're playing 4 copies of the 8-drop, and we do have these blockers and the Sword Strike Gundam and whatnot. We also even have the Hawk of Endymion, which does have a link with the Sword Strike Gundam too. We do have our Overflowing Affection, Unforeseen Incident, our Striker Pack, and even one path of victory or defeat. So this is honestly like a really unique build that I haven't seen, I think, 50 for 50 before. I do think that helping you get to late game is great. So we're focusing instead of like ramping off wing. We're not even playing like 3-drop bird mode, right? Which is also why we're taking Kira out of the list by 2 copies. But we're more like important of this like, you know, seeing Duo and getting the ramp from 6 to 7 and starting the next turn at 8 is really important, getting that kind of clear with it, and just having some early blockers and just kind of like these commands that can help you interact and get those advantages too. So again, a really unique build. I'd have to try this one myself, but I do like the additions. I do also like the Freedom. I think Freedom Gundam is a really good card for potentially just getting some more value in this deck too, and does have some good links with also just Hero and Duo. Like making this like a 5/8 blocker is fantastic in these decks too. So really cool build, and congratulations to Ryan for their top 8 with the wing. Next up, we've got our blue and white, I'll call it Freedom blockers. Basically, you know, a blue-white deck that's kind of based more on the late game with having like the access to the Freedom Gundam as well. So this is still just like the next like inclusion of the deck as we go up to kind of like the day 0 blue-white like blocker build and like the beta builds too. And you know, it's still been getting like a lot of cool like new cards that people have been adding to it, right? I think one of the newer adds for it has been the Strike Rouge, right? This being able to be like an Archangel on a body is really nice. We are also playing 1 copy of the Kagalia too, which does link with it, but being able to get blockers to some of our units, such as like our Rebuild, is nice because we still get the when paired effect, and then we turn this into a 6/5 blocker, which is pretty menacing. We also can use it with the Justice Gundam, so even though we don't get to run the link with the Atherin, since we are playing a blue and white deck, it's been really cool to see this card pop up more often in blue-white decks. It's just another way to gain value. So you know, having another 2/2 blocker come out and then still having like a 5/5 body that you're a little bit happier with swinging with is really cool. There are some cool combinations with, it's not going to happen often with only running 2 copies in this one, but if you play one and then you pair it and then you play another one, you can have the first one attack, get the when paired effect to make the second token attack the turn that it's played. So it's a little convoluted. I'm sure it didn't happen at all this weekend, but you do get to do that kind of fun combo if you are running, you know, multiple copies of this card. So other than that, you know, blue and white is just such a weird combination of colors in this game. They have so many good cards, but they just don't really have as much of it, like I'd say like an identity by itself, right? They're way better, I think, at supporting a lot of other colors and kind of archetypes, but it still does have some great cards, and you can still play these colors too, right? I'm not saying that you can. It's just been weird to see it kind of wane over the last couple of weeks as other decks kind of get more fleshed out with what they're doing. So, but you are sincerely playing some of the best colors, or some of the best cards in the games with these color combination, right? The Amro is great, Show of Resolve, Overflowing Affection, our Unforeseen Incident. Gundam, Gundam and Airstrike, I think, are still some of the best units on curve in this game, especially with their link with pilots. So being able to have access to all these flexible cards is just really good. Sometimes you just don't see it though, and it gets a little bit clunky, but it's you get so many cool Gundams that you get to play in this one. So this is the build here from David, and congratulations for their top with the blue and white Freedom blockers. Next up, we've got our blue and green. I call this like Earth Federation aggro, right? It's also got like a breach end, right? Since we have the Shang Wu Fei in this deck too, but this is just kind of a there's just such an onus to say, you know what? Breach is such a great keyword for putting our opponent down to like very few shields, and then we also do have like our Amro, which lets us kind of help us bypass some blockers as well. So this is a really unique build too. It's just so focused on getting rid of blockers, right? Not only do we have 4 copies of Amro, but we also do have, the copies of the Argama here, right? And then also we're playing 3 copies of Siege Ploy, right? Our opponent's not going to have active Gundams very often in this game, right? And I think that makes sense because not only are we able to bypass blockers, but we're playing 4 copies of Gun Tank as well as 4 copies of Angsha, and then obviously like the Shenlong, being able to rest something, attack into it, and then if we have Shangwu Phase Effect in active, right? If we're playing something that has 3 or less AP, you're able to just get rid of something, deal breach damage to your opponent's shields, and then they don't really get to interact, right? I think this is a deck that really punishes someone who's not really seeing their pilots as often, because it's just going to make it so they can't attack very often, and you're always in kind of the control for that too. But I do think it's blue-green, like the aggro base by itself is enough to kind of carry you into mid to late game advantage, and being able to, instead using like the Shenlong with like the breach and like still focusing on Amuro is really helpful for capitalizing in those positions. So really cool build. I haven't seen this one as often. Congratulations to Buck for their finish there. So next up we've got these blue and white. I'm calling these like strike tempo decks as well. It's a little bit more difficult for this one in particular because we don't really have a top end. So we've got Reverse Waterfall as well as Johnny with their builds of it here. And again, like our highest cost card, level card is just the Ale Strike, right? We cap out at level 5 with a cost 4. So we're not playing any Freedom, we're not playing any Unicorn or anything like that. We're just trying to get cards on the board consistently and be able to have like some healthy interactions with our opponent's board, right? And I've mentioned it several times before. Gundam with Amuro, are the Ale Strike Gundam with literally any of our pilots just gets so much advantage, gets around blockers, makes it so your opponent has to like really respect how much pressure we get to do towards them, and it can be really tough to kind of keep up with that kind of pressure as well. So there are kind of like 2 different ideas. One, you have, I'd say, like a more simplistic one here from Reverse Waterfall. We're just playing, 4 of the good cards. We're getting, a couple 3-ofs. We're also playing like the Vanilla Gundam. It's just like a backup copy to use with our Amuro. We're playing the Sword Strike with the Ale Strike, which also has 3 whole copies of Haku and Demian for the link with the Sword Strike as well. We've got our single copy Show Resolve. We got our Overflowing Affection and our Corsica base, right? So honestly, like it has a lot of like similarities, I think, to like the red-blue decks too, where you're just playing a lot of the good blue cards that are able to ping and push into shields very easily. Obviously, Gundam having a 6 AP with its own effect to get rid of any base in the game right now could be fantastic. And then again, like the tempo you get from your Sword Strike and L Strike is fantastic. So other than that, we do have kind of a little bit of a more Academy-focused one, right? We do have the 2 copies of the Sleta, which still works really well with either our Gundam or our Ale Strike, right? We do also have the Darabalde here, being able to return something with 1 HP to hand. Obviously, we'd rather ping it and let it go to the trash, but you do get to get that advantage there. And there's so many, like, Sled is like one of my favorite pilots that doesn't really link with anything as well. Like, it's just like generically, sure, I'll make something 1/2, and then this just becomes like a free cost. It sometimes lets you extend your plays as well if you have to like tap out and then you get your resource back with this for something you played last turn. So it's a cool like 2 of add for the deck as well. So lastly, instead of playing 4 Corsica base, we're playing 2 copies of Kusanagi as well. So I've been seeing this one get a little bit more popular. Obviously, if you're playing a deck that's playing a lot of tokens, being able to get that interaction is great. It does only have 4 HP, but at the same time, like being able to bounce anything 3 or less HP, including your opponent's turn when you play this, means that you can kind of like get out of 2 attacks if your opponent's not sequencing correctly and respecting that this card can come out of your shields as well. So a little bit of a good shield burst here. And again, I kind of want to see what this deck kind of looks like, because it does remind me of a lot of like the play style that you kind of get from like a blue and red ping deck, even though you're not as ping heavy and you don't really have like the boss monster with Banshee. You still have a lot going on here. So this is the build here from Johnny in Reverse Waterfall. Congratulations for their finishes there. And then to wrap it all up, we do have one more blue and white deck. It is Leg with their copy of the Unicorn blockers. And Unicorn is just like in a really weird spot right now, right? I think that it's a very like coveted archetype. People really like it. I'm a fan of liking Unicorn Gundam as well. And you really want it to work, right? You got like one of the coolest LRs in the game. I'll be honest, like not only does the art look fantastic, but the effect is so unique. And it's really cool to use this. And when it works, you feel like there's no way your opponent can interact with you favorably, right? Like end game scenario, if you kind of burn them out of resources. You can use this Unicorn Gundam Destroy mode to like rest every card that they play every turn, so get some pressure on them, and it just can win you the game by itself, right? So I think the issue with this deck is that it's not consistently getting there, right? Like obviously playing 4 copies of Unicorn Gundam, you're hopefully seeing this, but a 3-card combo where there's not any direct searching in this game for any of the combo pieces makes it really tough for you to get that consistently, right? You do have like a lot of interaction cards, right? We're playing like the Demi Garrison. We do have like, you know, the Gundam Ilfrit, which just has so much good block potential, right? Rizel, we've got our Sword Strike as well as our L Strike with 2 copies of Hakim and Damian, right? So we have like some really good ways to interact with our opponent's tempo on the flip side. But again, if we just don't see the unicorn on time, like we just are so behind in so many situations. So it's been cool to see like the different builds of Unicorn. I do hope that there's one that's, you know, semi-consistent in the future as well. And it is like fantastic to get a top 32 finish with this build too. So this is the build from Leg, and congratulations for their finish there. But that's going to be it for us. You know, a real quick overview. This is like the largest event for North America for this card game right now. We do have future events in the next couple weeks, but they will be in a different format with Star Deck 5 being legal as well. But it's really cool to be able to look at this game at like a huge level and still see quite a variety of decks to make it, and just kind of what the meta's developed over the last couple of weeks as well. So that's going to be it for me. Thank you guys so much for watching. I really do appreciate it. And if you guys said hi to me at the event, I really do appreciate everyone who said hello. You guys are amazing, and I'm really humbled by all the kind words I get when I go to these events too. So I really do appreciate it. Thank you again for watching, and we'll catch you all next time.